Hello and welcome. Today, we're diving into something that I think we can all relate to: how to think on your feet and speak with more confidence. We're going to be drawing on some amazing work from Stanford's Matt Abrahams to give you some real, practical tools to help you nail any speaking situation. You know the feeling, right? You're in a meeting or maybe just chatting with friends, and someone turns to you and asks, "So, what do you think?" And poof, your mind is just a white, fuzzy cloud. It's a horrible feeling, but I promise it doesn't have to be your default setting. Okay, first things first. We have to get one huge idea straight right from the beginning. Being a confident speaker isn't some magic gift that people are born with. It's a skill. And you know what's great about skills? They can be learned. They can be practiced. And the guy who really champions this idea is Matt Abrahams, who's an expert in this stuff over at Stanford. I absolutely love this metaphor. Think about it. Public speaking is like a muscle. You wouldn't expect to go to the gym once and be super strong, right? Of course not. It's the same thing here. This completely reframes the whole idea from something you are to something you do. It takes all that pressure off and puts you back in control. And if you need proof, just look at Matt Abrahams himself. You might think a guy teaching this at Stanford was just born a smooth talker, but nope, not at all. He actually says he used to have terrible anxiety about speaking. As a kid, he was shy, he was nervous, he hated being called on in class. So how on earth did he become a leading expert? Well, it's kind of funny. It was almost by accident. His last name, Abrahams, meant he was always the first person on any class list. So teachers always called on him first for everything. He was constantly being forced to speak, and that meant he had to face his fear again and again and again. And slowly, rep by rep, he built that speaking muscle. Years later, when he was a professor, he saw that same fear in his students. These brilliant people who would just freeze under pressure. And that's what inspired him to build a whole system to help people like them and like us build that muscle on purpose. So that leads us right to our first practical step. We've got to deal with the anxiety monster itself. Before we can even think about what we're going to say, we have to get a handle on all those crazy things our minds and bodies do when we're nervous. Now, this anxiety usually comes from two main places. On the one hand, you've got the mental trigger, perfectionism. That's that little voice in your head screaming that you have to be perfect, that one tiny mistake means total failure. Then, on the other hand, you've got the physical stuff. Your heart starts pounding, your voice gets all shaky, your palms get sweaty, and here's the really nasty part. Those physical symptoms feed your mental anxiety, which then makes the physical symptoms worse. It's this vicious cycle. So how do you break that cycle when you're in the moment? Here are 4 super quick techniques you can use. First, just breathe. Seriously, 1 deep breath in and a long, slow exhale out actually tells your nervous system to calm down. Second, take a sip of water. A dry mouth is a classic sign of nerves, so this helps. Third, cool your hands. Holding something cool like a glass of water can help regulate your body temp. And fourth, get present. Walk around the room for a second or do a weird little mental task like counting backward from 100 by threes. It sounds strange, but it pulls your brain right out of that anxiety spiral and into the here and now. This brings us to probably the biggest mental shift you can make. Just aim to be good enough. Forget perfect. You have to give yourself permission to be human. You know, the real difference between a pro and an amateur isn't that the pro never messes up. It's that when they do, they don't freak out. They just keep going. Okay, so you've taken a deep breath, you've grounded yourself, your nerves are in check, but now, what do you actually say? This is where having a structure becomes your absolute best friend. Think of it like a roadmap. If you have a map, you don't have to waste mental energy figuring out which way to go. You can just focus on the journey, in this case, on your message. And the most powerful, simple roadmap Abrahams gives us is a little framework called what, so what, now what. It sounds so simple, but trust me, this three-part structure is a total game changer for speaking on the fly. So let's break it down. It's really easy. Part one is the what. This is your main point, your big idea, your observation. Just say it. Don't beat around the bush. Part two is the so what. This is the key. This is where you explain why it matters. Why should the other person care? What's the relevance? And finally, part three is the now what. This is your conclusion. What's the next step? What should we do with this information? It gives your thought a clear destination. Let's use a super simple, almost silly example to see it in action. Okay, the what is just a fact. The weather is cold. Fun. Now the so what adds the importance. Because it's cold, I might get sick. Ah, okay, now I see why you're telling me this. And finally, the now what gives us the action. So, I will wear warm clothes when I go out. See? In 3 easy steps, we went from a random fact to a complete logical thought. All right, so we've got tools to manage the anxiety, and we've got a framework for our content. So let's get into the final piece of the puzzle, how we actually put all of this into practice and really build a mindset for growth. Here is one last really powerful tip, a little pre-flight checklist to run through in your head before you speak. Just ask yourself 3 quick questions. First, what do I want my audience to know? This really sharpens your main point. Second, what do I want my audience to feel? This connects your idea to an emotion. And third, what do I want my audience to do? This gives your message a purpose. Know, feel, do. Answering those will make sure what you say is always clear and relevant. And look at that. We've come full circle. We're right back where we started. It all comes down to this idea of a growth mindset. It's not about being perfect. It's about seeing every single conversation, every meeting, every time you speak up as just another rep at the gym. It's another chance to strengthen that speaking muscle. You just have to be willing to try. So, listening to all this is one thing, but actually doing it is where the magic happens. So here's my challenge to you. Think about your day today. What is one conversation, one email, or even just one thought that you can structure using what, so what, now what? Try it, because that's how this stops being an idea and starts becoming your new skill.